Hi, my name is Tracy Cornelius and I'd like to welcome you to Homemade, Grown and Sown. Today we're going to show you how to make a courgette quiche using herb pastry. So the pastry is the first thing that we want to start with. So I've already gone ahead and I've weighed out 100 grams of wholemeal flour along with 50 grams of plain white flour. And I've also gone ahead and cut up 40 grams of butter and also 40 grams of white vegetable fat. Now along with this, I'm actually going to put in some fresh oregano from our garden as well. Now the key to really good pastry is keeping everything really cold. So I've even put the mixing bowl in the fridge. So it's really cold and it's ready for us to mix everything in together. Now along with this you're also going to need pinch of salt, so I just tend to ground mine in. I'm going to mix the pastry up together first of all, and then I'm going to add in the herbs, and I'm using a pastry mixer. So just squash everything in and keep moving it around until you get fine breadcrumbs. So we've mixed it enough so it resembles fine breadcrumbs, and I'm going to add in the oregano. So just stripping it off from the sprigs. And then what we're going to do is we're going to be using cold water to mix the pastry together. Now I've made sure that I've run the tap so the water is very cold. You could obviously put in a couple of ice cubes beforehand if you wanted to make it especially cold, but I think that's pretty much going to be fine. God, this oregano smells absolutely divine. I really love using fresh herbs, especially when we've grown them ourselves, because we know we don't use any pesticides or insecticides or anything else like that, so we know that it's all fresh, that it hasn't been sprayed with anything, and it's organic. And this is just going to add a really nice flavour to the pastry. Okay, so now that we've done that, I'm going to be adding in the water by the tablespoon and just mixing it around like so. And then we're going to start to try and knead it together in a minute. I like to try and use the spoon as much as possible to begin with. I'm only going to really start off with probably about another 1 tablespoon, and then I'm going to start to bring it all together and start to knead it. So we've kneaded the dough, just going to wrap it in cling film, and then we can leave it in the fridge for about half an hour before we roll it out. Okay, so you can see that I've already rolled out the pastry and I've put it in a 10-inch quiche dish. It rolled out really nicely, so I'm very pleased. So now I'm going to pop in some baking paper, and then I'm going to fill it with some ceramic baking beads, and we're going to pop this into the oven at approximately 200 to 220 degrees for about 15 minutes. I'm just going to make sure that I push all the ceramic beads around, and then I'm going to pop that into the oven. Okay, so while the pastry is cooking in the oven, I've already got together the ingredients for the inside of our quiche. So I've got approximately 3 small courgettes cut into slices. I then have about 350 grams of onions. In here I have 25 grams of mature cheddar grated, and I've also got 25 grams of Parmesan cheese, fresh Parmesan cheese grated, 2 tablespoons of pine nuts, and then I've got 200 millilitres of creme fraiche, and we're going to use about 2 tablespoons of whole grain mustard as well. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to fry up the onions, and then I'm going to do the same with the courgettes. So these are going to cook for about 2 minutes. After they've been cooking for about 2 minutes, I'm then going to put these on for about 3 to 5 minutes as well. So while the onions and courgettes are actually cooking, I've put in 200 millilitres of creme fraiche and 2 tablespoons of whole grain mustard. And in here I have 2 full eggs and an extra yolk. So I'm just going to pour all that in, and we're now going to whisk it together with a fork. just go around fairly slowly at first, and then I can start picking up pace and really getting it all mixed in together. Once we've got it really well mixed in, we can add the pine nuts and also the cheese, and then this will be poured over the mixture of the courgettes and onions in the base of the quiche. Together, just going to pop in the grated cheeses and just mix that in together as well. And then adding in the 2 tablespoons of pine nuts too. Pine nuts have a really delicate flavour and they add a really nice texture as well. Okay, and then that's going to be ready when we've finished with the onions and courgettes. Okay, so now that the courgettes and the onions are finished, I've laid them out in the bottom of the quiche, and I'm just going to spread that one out a little bit more, and now we can just pour over the mixture. Just using a little spatula to scoop out the remainder. And once we've done this and evened it all out, we can just pop it into the oven, again about 220 degrees, and you want to do that and leave it in for approximately maybe 35-40 minutes, and then your quiche will be done. So as you can see, we have one perfect quiche. So it took about, I think it was about 35 minutes, and my recommendation is if you've got a fan assisted oven, I'd probably turn it down just after maybe 25 minutes, because you see that the top is a little bit too brown for me, but apart from that I think it looks fab and we're going to really enjoy eating it for dinner. So thanks very much once again for joining me in one of our little video tutorials, and I really look forward to sharing with you next time. Bye for now.